What's up guys, welcome back. Now in this video we're going to be discussing one of my favorite games and subjects of course on this channel is Metroid. And no, this is not about Metroid Prime 4, but it is about Metroid on the Nintendo Switch, a brand new possible Metroid game coming to the Switch in the not too distant future. So I'm very excited to talk about this, so let's get started. So there is a Spanish website called Hobby Consoles, and they actually interviewed Nintendo's very own Yoshio Sakamoto, and he is the producer for Metroid Samus Returns on the Nintendo 3DS that came out last year. A fantastic game, and it was the first Metroid game for the Nintendo 3DS. Very successful, very well made, great looking game, great sounding game. It was basically one of the best Metroid games. Even though it was a remake of Metroid 2 from the Game Boy, it was still one of the best Metroid games I've ever played, quite frankly. And if you haven't played it, I highly suggest you pick it up on the 3DS as soon as you can and check it out. It's simply fantastic. So the interview is actually very detailed. It went into a lot of things about the Nintendo 3DS game that they made, and he also brought out that they had a lot of things they took from Metroid Prime as inspiration as far as the graphics are concerned, and even the sound effects they even used from Metroid Prime as well, some of the sound effects at least, along with some of the melodies as well, basically things that give it that Metroid feel, that atmosphere, and you know, the choices they made in development, even the choice of not even having Samus speak in Metroid Samus Returns, which I think is a great choice. It adds to the immersion and puts you more into the game, having that isolated feel. Games like Metroid Other M, you know, they had Samus talking throughout the entire game, and many fans felt that that was a detraction from the overall atmosphere of that game as well. So very good decision on that front. And then he went on to talk about the Nintendo Switch, about what he thinks about the hardware and the potential of it, and he said that the Switch is a very attractive piece of hardware, and that there are a lot of possibilities that could be done with Metroid on the Nintendo Switch. And then he wanted to talk about whether or not he is making a new Metroid game for the Switch. He said that he can't say anything about developing a new Metroid game for the Nintendo Switch, but he's very aware of the potential options that it brings. So I think personally that Metroid Samus Returns would actually be a perfect fit for them to port to the Nintendo Switch at least first, and of course have his team create a brand new side-scrolling Metroid game for the Nintendo Switch. We already have Metroid Prime 4 coming. We know that's a full 3D game, and also you have to remember that the 3DS remake of Samus Returns was actually a fully 3D environment completely made for the Nintendo Switch from scratch. It was not 2D hand-drawn, and all the character models were 3D. It was just being displayed in the side view aspect, but the environment was fully 3D, and it had a really cool effect when he did some special moves that the camera would zoom in and rotate in full 3D, giving it that full immersion, especially with the stereoscopic 3D of the Nintendo 3DS, with the dual screens also giving the map aspect of it as well. So what I see here is a possibility of actually having two new Metroid games from his team coming to the Nintendo Switch, possibly a port, like I said, of Metroid Samus Returns, which I think would be a fantastic idea. The game already looks great on the 3DS. I think upscaled to 1080p, the game would still look great. Maybe they would touch up a few of the assets, but the game already looks fantastic on the 3DS. Maybe the best looking 3DS game there is, period. Of course, when you blow it up on your screen, it looks pixelated because the resolution is quite low at 240p, I believe, of the 3DS. But if they were to port that game to the Switch, it could be easily run at 1080p, 60 frames per second, in my opinion, and look absolutely fantastic. I think that would be a great game to put on the Switch while they make a brand new side-scrolling game for the Switch, and I do think his team is actually going to be doing that, guys. I really have a strong feeling that they will, because Metroid Samus Returns was actually very successful on the 3DS. I believe it sold over 1 million copies, and it was a highly rated game, and everybody liked it. It was a little bit difficult, true, but it was a very well-made game. And I think Sakamoto's comments here were quite interesting, saying that he really can't say anything about it right now in regards to making a brand new Metroid game for the Nintendo Switch. Like I said, I have that feeling that since that game was so successful on the 3DS and it works so well, I think it's a no-brainer that they probably already are working on concepts, or at least a brand new game for the Nintendo Switch in the not too distant future. And we don't have hardly anything announced for 2019 as of yet as far as dates are concerned for the Switch. We don't really have Metroid Prime 4 with any date or Bayonetta 3 with any date. If Metroid Prime 4 does not come out in 2019, they push it to 2020. I do think something like this for the Nintendo Switch would fill the gap quite nicely for Metroid fans. Either a port of the 3DS game to the Nintendo Switch, or a brand new side-scrolling Metroid game that is perhaps based on Samus Returns, and maybe the game takes place in a similar time frame as Metroid Samus Returns as well, or it could take place in any time frame in the Metroid series. But I do think that the gameplay that they kind of pioneered a little bit in the 3DS game with some of the new things they were trying, like that counterattack that they added to her arsenal in that game, was very well done and was well used with practice. They can expand on that with a brand new game for the Switch in the future as well. I think it would be a great idea, and I do think the game would sell very well on the system, and that goes for a port of the 3DS game too. It could also sell very well on the Switch, but I do hope they are making a brand new side-scrolling game since it was so very well done on the 3DS. Alright guys, so I want to know what you think about this. Are you excited for a possible brand new side-scrolling Metroid game on the Nintendo Switch? Do you think they'll port Metroid Samus Returns on the Switch? Or do you think they'll just simply make a brand new side-scrolling game while we wait for the inevitable return of Metroid Prime, re-released in either 2019 or 2020 on the Nintendo Switch? Alright guys, if you did enjoy this video, please hit the like button, subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you very soon in the next video. Have a great day.